do you think that there's definitely a sort of all green lights ahead for the taxpayer effectively to be buying Bitcoin? Because that's what we're talking about.
So
they're talking about tariff money going for
So I went down to Washington, D.C. last week to the White House. I interviewed Bo Hines, who's the executive director of the President's Advisor Council for Digital Assets. And I explicitly asked him this question. And the thing that he said to me that I think kind of took away was not only are they going to have the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, which we have, they are going to buy as much Bitcoin as they possibly can. And
with what money? And does that have to be authorized by Congress?
So there's a bunch of different ways they could do it. I think what they're trying to figure out is what is the best way to do it. And so a couple of examples would be they could revalue the gold. They could sell some of that. They can then go and they could buy Bitcoin.
Does that have to be done with Congress's approval?
There's a debate around who would be responsible, who would be involved. And they have
all this has to be done with executive order? I mean,
well, they have an interagency group right now that's working together. And so at that table is everyone from energy policymakers to law enforcement to economic advisors. Kind of everyone is trying to figure this out. I don't think you're going to see kind of very rash decision-making kind of unilaterally, but I do think that working group is trying to figure it out. But you also have things like the tariff revenue or other areas where we may be saving money that we previously were wasting or abusing. And so I think that is probably, to me, the thing that the market most misunderstands is it's not just, hey, we're going to hold the Bitcoin. They're going to actively try to buy Bitcoin. And there's other countries around the world, they may be acquiring Bitcoin by mining and using natural resources that they have there. And so I think there's a lot of strategies here that the U.S. is going to pursue.
The end of last year, we had predicted that they would hold but not buy, right? That they would formally create a stockpile. And then, of course, in March, they had the establishment of the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve and United States Digital Asset Stockpile Executive Order, which
how many times did you have to recite that before you went to bed at night?
Which specifically prohibited the government from selling Bitcoin and ordered Commerce and Treasury to find out budget-neutral ways to buy Bitcoin, while simultaneously prohibiting them from buying altcoins and leaving the management up to those departments for altcoins. I think a lot of progress has been made. They were 30 days after that order supposed to have delivered to the White House and the Presidential Working Group an accounting of the government's Bitcoin. We think that accounting has been delivered. We haven't found out yet what the accounting says, but it seems like they're making progress, and you've got Treasury Secretary Bessent literally saying Bitcoin is now becoming a store of value. You've got a drumbeat from Bo Hines and David Sachs, and it just seems plausible at this point they'll buy something. There will be a buy. That's the extent of which I'm.
Where do you think they'll get the money to buy? Because they've been clear with the American people that tax dollars will not be spent to buy digital assets.
Yeah, budget neutral is hard. In a lot of ways, budget neutral is not a real thing. I feel like if cash goes into the general treasury, there's a lot of claims on that cash, let alone reducing the deficit, which the government has made a big point. So to then use any cash to do that. But what you could do is the altcoins that are in the sell-only digital asset stockpile, you could sell some of those for Bitcoin.
There's an opportunity cost in doing that, though. You're essentially having to convince, maybe you don't have to convince anyone, but you're saying, okay, this money that we're getting as a result of selling these assets is best used, in our view, by buying Bitcoin.
Agreed. And I think that's why one of the elegant ways is to take some altcoin or something in that stockpile, which, let's be frank, the government and Congress barely even know that the government possesses, right? It's not like some big pile of money everyone's aware of and wants their piece of. But also, to be specific, you could sell an altcoin in an altcoin BTC pair and never touch cash at all. No cash ever has to flow into the general treasury. Could be an easier way to get to a promises made, promises kept on the SBR.
The family, like you said, has invested into a whole slew of different projects over the last 2.5 years or so. And I would say the most of this paper gains are in the meme coin that was launched right before sort of an inauguration, as well as, but you know, we see them across the board. Trump started by issuing NFT collections, then now he has footprints and everything from, the family has a Bitcoin mining venture. There is a decentralized finance project that's ongoing, so lots of different ventures. And there are definitely concerns about conflicts of interest as well, because just right now, for instance, there's a lot of work being done in Congress on stablecoin legislation, and the Trump family is working on a stablecoin as well. So some of the things that are being worked on are sort of seem to be the exact same things that the administration or Congress are paying a lot of attention to right now as well.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher, and you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And also, guys, make sure you go like and follow the TikTok. More videos to come. And we have Pomp on CNBC. Says the government may start buying Bitcoin in a big way. Also, we have Alex Thorne from Galaxy Digital says the same thing. The government is going to start buying Bitcoin and crypto. And when it comes to the Treasury could be using a lot of these cryptos for the payment rails that'll make it cheaper, 24/7, real-time settlement. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And we have the Trump family is in every sector of this digital economy. And then on top of it, you have the President of the United States is pushing this economy, and the sheep have no clue. It is unbelievable. But we know the sheep stay distracted on things that don't matter. And we clearly see this fourth industrial revolution being built, and the Trump family is going to go down as one of the greatest families because they orchestrated the fourth industrial revolution. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And we have Jane Foley says that countries are moving away from the dollar. And that dollar dominance is slowly fading. But guys, we know it was done on purpose. We know the Fed printed 80% of all money in existence to speed up the death of fiat so they could bring in this digital economy. And the plan went in 2008. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And due to stable coins, the dollar can be replaced quickly. But the dollar is not going anywhere. We're just moving to a level playing field. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And we have the 10-year yield. Will it go over 5%? Will it go over 6%? I'm definitely seeing it going over 5% because the Fed can't make a move just yet, because the labor market is not crumbling just yet, but it is definitely close. And then, of course, we have Japan. And once Japan gets into this rate hike cycle, it's going to be a rumble in this economy. And then on top of it, they're going to be forced to sell these U.S. treasuries. And don't forget, Warren Buffett sold a lot of yen bonds. If you're part of the Patreon, you know. And then lastly, guys, we have Netflix. Like most NWO companies, they can go 10 years, 15 years with no profits. And don't forget, the co-CEO is the great nephew of Edward Bernays. Yes, you heard that correct. If you have the NWO book, you understand. So like the Crypto Teacher teaches you, it is all planned out. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you, because he knows. When it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Actually draw this back to the first Trump presidency, when there was this need. Even the Europeans weren't happy when, for instance, Trump pulled the US out of the Iranian nuclear accord and basically told European companies they had to pull out too, otherwise they may not have access to dollar funding. The Europeans were not happy about that then. So I think there have been changes made since the first administration to make perhaps other currencies a little bit more resilient, and I think that trend will continue. So I think the de-dollarization is a issue. It is a concern. It will continue, but we can't replace the dollar quickly. There isn't a clear alternative.
So you're describing a currency that has that status because of the role it plays in global trade. So if lots of other currencies are doing their bit in global trade, and increasingly so perhaps, and the role of the dollar is dropping a little, do we need one reserve currency, or can we have many?
Now that question is, I think, very difficult to answer now, but perhaps part of the answer is in the perception that we are moving on to maybe more trading blocks. So, for instance, if we look at what the IMF has been saying in the first Trump administration, because of the trade frictions that he then injected, what we saw was not a decline in overall trade, world trade, but we saw it change. So we saw more trading done within blocks. If we carry on moving into that system, yes, maybe you will see different currencies being more important in those separate different blocks. But it's very difficult to answer that question right now.
5 is my baseline forecast. If you said, what is the risk to my forecast, I would say significantly higher than 5%. And the reason is that what we have seen over the past week should not happen to the United States, which is a key currency country. It can happen to other countries in the world. It can happen to emerging markets, which have the currency fluctuating massively, the price of gold going up, and the bond yield rising. These are the 3 warning signals that I keep watching. It is not the price of equities that is as critical to me.
What would be an extreme scenario on the 10?
An extreme scenario on the 10, you can go over 6% on the 10-year. And then you are talking about 9% or so on the 30-year mortgage rate. And you have a stagflation. In fact, stagflation is also my expectation. If you look at the New York Fed survey, which came out today, it says people are worried about inflation, stock prices, and employment. Why are you worried about both inflation and unemployment? The reason is that's what happens in a stagflation. And we have not had one since the late 1970s. And I think we are setting the stage for one to come in the next several months.
I'm seeing interesting things, Kelly, that might interest you because I know you have this interest in currencies and central banking. What does the discussion with Japan look like?
What's going on with the long end there, by the way?
Right now?
Well, I just mean in general. The Japanese bond, you wonder, again, going back to how much of what we're seeing is even about what's going on in this country. Why are Japanese 30-year bond yields up, 10 basis points every time you wake up?
I don't know the reason for that, but there is some talk about, sorry?
But they're like almost 3%. Remember that? When it was like -3 a couple of years. You couldn't get a positive Japanese bond. Their central bank had bought everything. Now they've got inflation. Anyway, Steve, I'm just saying there it is, 2.8. Look at that.
How great are they in the back to call up the Japanese 30 in just like that amount of time without even knowing you were going to mention it?
But your point is taken about the trade deal and all that. I just mean that it's interesting that we're seeing so much turmoil over there.
What I was going to say is that there is discussion in the markets now that the trade deal involves a discussion over monetary policy and currency, right? Because the president and his team have talked about the idea that there's currency manipulation going on. So watch this. If you talk about the yen-dollar relationship, let's see.
Give it a second.
Give it a second. The yen has been stronger, 142 and change. Does this involve some combination of the yen, the Japanese agreeing to strengthen the yen as part of the agreement? Does it involve some other monetary policy? Does it change monetary policy as part of the discussion? Are the Japanese willing to go there? Are the Europeans willing to go there on monetary policy and or their VAT, which we see as a tariff, but every economist will tell you it's not a tariff?
I'm worried about next week at the IMF World Bank meetings where the U.S. may very well announce cuts in some funding of different programs. And so I think that the dollar's decline long overdue. And the way we think about it being overdue is that the dollar is very expensive on a purchasing power parity terms. It's like watching two fighters. And they say the smaller fighter is stronger than the larger fighter, pound for pound. It's a similar measure we use in the foreign exchange market, instead of pound for pound, purchasing power parity. And by that measure, the euro and the yen are still almost 50% undervalued. So I think what's happening now, sparked by the change in administration, is the rubber band is snapping back.
Going to have to scale, but Netflix is a scale player, and scale begets scale, and they're already getting upwards of 45 to 50% of their new subs coming in on advertising, getting to 25% of their subs by 2030 or 100 million subs, which will give them plenty of advertising scale, gives them the ability to really drive high margin revenue coming off of what is a new revenue stream for them. So you put those variables together, and they're probably tripling their bottom line and doubling their top line, and at the kind of multiples that don't have to look quite as extended as their current multiples, you get to $1 trillion.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 Kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The Stock Channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.